Welcome once again to Corey's Costume Corner! Where all this month we will reveal who are you behind the mask. I'm Corey. That's why it's called Corey's Costume Corner. You get it. In today's lesson, we'll learn about some people who told the truth and some that stretched it a little bit. Like me, for instance. It wouldn't be a lie if I said I was a soldier, a king. No. But I am a
bunny rabbit.
Santa Claus.
I'm a bunny.
No. But really, I am
A strawberry.
not weird. I'm perfectly normal. I don't do anything strange ever.
Strawberry.
Nothing weird. Totally normal.
Yummy.
See, when you choose to be truthful in what you say and do, it's called integrity. It says in God's word, whoever walks in integrity walks securely. But whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. That's Proverbs 10:9. And when you don't have integrity, when you're not truthful, you lose the trust of people. But why is it so important for people to trust you? Oh, that's a big question. I need to think on that. I'm gonna go to this other room over here and think about it. It's not just behind some clothes. I'm not tricking you or lying. I have integrity. This is a secret room I'm going in. Here I am. I'm in the room now. I'm in a secret room. You can't see me. Leave me alone.
Are you always you? Let me try that again. Are you always the same you, no matter who you're with? It's tempting sometimes to wear two different faces in two different places. You're polite to your teacher, but you snap at your mom. Or you answer every question in small group, but you don't speak up when a kid at school is being bullied. Or you're always careful with screen time at home, but at a friend's house, you visit websites your parents haven't okayed. You tell yourself you're not lying. Not really. Not with your mouth. But your actions say that you're two different people. Instead, you can choose to be truthful in all you say and do. Treat everyone with respect, not just the people who can help you. Choose to always obey your parents, even if they're not around. And if you love building epic Lego creations at home, don't pretend at school you don't like Legos because it might not be cool. When you choose to be the you that God made you to be, no matter where you are, others can see God at work in you. That's why integrity is an amazing way to worship God with your life. Because worship is about more than just singing loud. It's all about living loud.
What's up, Prestonwood families? Connor Chambers here, so excited to bring y'all another lesson, hanging out here at the pool, just having an awesome day here with some of this Texas summer heat, right? And you know, whenever I'm thinking about some of the stuff that I really like to do or really like to eat, I think of some of like the cookies or the Rice Krispies, you know? Have you ever had some of these Rice Krispies? This one's a little melty, it's been out here a while, but man, these things are so good. But you know, growing up, I love to eat these treats, and my mom knew that, so she would limit the number that I could have, otherwise I would just eat way too much, right? And sometimes I would try and sneak one of these treats. I'd try and take the last cookie or grab some of the candy I wasn't supposed to, right? Have you ever done something like that? And then you eat it and you're like, oh, I got away with this. Like, I know what I'm doing, you know? And you've left the candy wrapper out, the stickiness from the Jolly Ranchers on your fingers, the cookie crumbs, you smeared the chocolate from the chocolate chip cookie on your pants, and there it is, and your mom sees it, right? All of a sudden you were dishonest, and then you got caught. Or maybe you asked to borrow a shirt from your sister, and you were like, you know what, I want to wear this t-shirt. And I know last time I borrowed it, she told me not to do that again because I left some of the cookie crumbs on the t-shirt, but you know what, it's gonna be fine. I'll be extra careful, nothing's gonna happen. You're extra careful, you do everything great, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna sneak it back into her closet, and you hang it up, and you totally didn't realize you left a mustard stain on the outside of the sleeve. Mustard, come on, right? Or maybe, let's say that you're playing football, you're passing with your friends and just having a good time with it, and, well, you know you're not supposed to play football in the house, especially in the living room where mom has that nice, like, you know, china lamp sitting over there on the table. But yeah, you're a proficient passer of the pigskin, right? You know what you're doing. So you're passing around, you're having fun, you give it a throw, and ooh, that didn't work out so well. So I know where the super glue is, so I run and grab the super glue, and I put the whole thing back together, and it's all glued, and okay, I think I'm good. Until, of course, Dad comes by and tries to pull on the chain, and there goes all of your gluing work. Why do we do that sort of thing? Why do we make a mistake and then try and hide it, or even lie about it? Like, we know when we get caught, it's just gonna make things worse. So why do we do that? Well, Scripture has a lot to say about honesty, about integrity, and being truthful both in our actions and in our words. I'm thinking of a particular story in the Old Testament. Let me give you some background. So Israel had a whole bunch of kings, and God was the best king they were ever going to have, but he allowed them to have some human kings as well. And some of them did a great job, like David or Josiah, and then there were some who didn't do such a good job. And during this time, there were also prophets, right? Maybe you remember when we talked about Elisha and Elijah's friendship a few weeks ago, we discussed a little bit about what a prophet is. Yes, they see the future, but more often than not, they're hearing from the Lord a message, communicating the truth about a situation, and then predicting the future, as in, if y'all keep doing these things, then here's what's gonna happen, right? That sort of thing. So our story centers on three main characters, right? We've got Elisha, which, like I mentioned, the story of Elijah and Elisha, right? He was the guy who was left behind, right? And then we've got his servant Gehazi, and then we also have this general named Naaman, but he's not from Israel. He's from Aram, which is actually one of Israel's enemies at this point. Keep that in mind. Now let's dig into this story together. We're opening up to 2 Kings chapter 5. Now Naaman was commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. Now, leprosy was a skin disease that was all nasty and nobody liked it. It was kind of contagious too, so they would often separate the people who had leprosy from the rest of the community. Now, at one point before this, Naaman had gone out on some raids, raiding Israel, and they had captured this girl, and she had become his wife's servant, right? Now, this girl, she knew about Naaman's leprosy, and she did something incredible. She said in 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 3, she said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." This is amazing. This girl has been captured, taken to a foreign land, and her master, who she's now serving, she shows him compassion and love. But that's a lesson for another time. So she lets them know, hey, there's this prophet who can cure Naaman of his leprosy. So Naaman goes and talks to his king. It's like, hey, is this, should we pursue this? Like, I'd love to be healed, and nothing here in this country has worked, so should we go give this prophet a try? The king kind of thinks about it. It's like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. But let me give you a letter to take to the king of Israel, so you know one of my generals walking into their territory, they don't think like, oh, they're about to like start a war or something, right? So he gives him a letter. Now, have you ever seen, or maybe you've got somebody in your family who way overpacks, right? Check this out. Here's what Naaman brought with him when he went to Israel. He brought 750 pounds of silver. 750 pounds. And then he brought 150 pounds of gold. And then on top of that, he brought 10 really, really nice sets of clothes. And then of course he had the letter. Let's check out what the letter said. The letter that he took to the king of Israel read, "With this letter, I am sending my servant Naaman to you, so that you may cure him of his leprosy." Now, whenever the king of Israel received that letter, he freaked out. He was like, "I'm not God. I can't heal this guy's leprosy. The king of Aram is trying to start a war with me." Now, Elisha hears about this and he tells the king, "Hey, calm down. Send Naaman over to me." So he does. He sends Naaman over. Naaman shows up with all his entourage and all these fancy gifts and everything, and he's ready. And Elisha lets him know, "Hey, go dip yourself in the Jordan River 7 times and you'll be healed." Now, this is not what a man of Naaman's standing was expecting, right? He brought all this gold, all this silver, all of these clothes. He's expecting like a big sacrifice, maybe like some really cool prayer, some holy hand waving something, right? And it's just like, just go take a bath in the Jordan 7 times in a row. I mean, he could have done that back in Damascus, right? Like he's not happy, so he storms off, right? But his guys, they get together with him. They kind of have this heart to heart. They're like, "Dude, you came all this way. You at least should just try what the prophet is telling you to do." Naaman's like, "All right, I'll give it a shot." So he goes and he dips himself in the river 7 times. 3, 2, 1, Geronimo! So, Naaman went and bathed in the Jordan River 7 times. And he was healed of his leprosy. So, he was very thankful and he went back to Elisha. Let's check it out. Verse 15. Then Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. He stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. So please accept a gift from your servant." Now, this is amazing. Naaman has come to believe in Yahweh, in the one true God. And he wants to show his gratitude by giving all of these gifts to Elisha. But Elisha, wasn't in it for the money. He was doing this for God to get the glory. And God just got the glory. So let's see how Elisha responds. The prophet answered, "As surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept a thing." And even though Naaman urged him, he refused. Now, after this exchange is over, Naaman, he's got his miracle. He's come to believe in the Lord, so it's time for him to head back. So he turns around and he takes off. But Gehazi, this is where he comes into the story. Elisha's servant, he thinks to himself, Elisha was really too nice to Naaman. He should have at least gotten something from him. Let's read it. Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said to himself, "My master was too easy on Naaman, this Aramaean, by not accepting from him what he brought. As surely as the Lord lives, I will run after him and get something from him." Now, I'm sure you and I are probably thinking the same thing. Wait, Gehazi, he's the prophet. This is Elisha we're talking about. He just dismissed it. You should let that go. Let's see what he does. So Gehazi hurried after Naaman. When Naaman saw him running toward him, he got down from the chariot to meet him. "Is everything all right?" he asked. "Everything is all right," Gehazi answered. "My master sent me to say, 2 young men from the company of the prophets have just come to me from the hill country of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 sets of clothing." Wait, pause, time out. Did Elisha say any of that? No. Gehazi has just lied in order to get a couple of sets of clothes and some silver. This isn't gonna end well. By all means, take 2 talents, said Naaman. He urged Gehazi to accept them, and then he tied up the 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with the 2 sets of clothing. And he gave them to 2 of his servants, and they carried them ahead of Gehazi. When Gehazi came to the hill, he took these things from the servants and put them away in the house. He sent the men away and left. Okay, here's what's just happened. Gehazi has just brought all of these riches back. And he goes and he hides them in Elisha's house. That way, Elisha doesn't see or know what Gehazi did. This isn't very honest. He's lied and now he's covering it up. How do we think this is going to end for him? When he went in and stood before his master Elisha, Elisha asked him, "Where have you been, Gehazi?" "Your servant didn't go anywhere," Gehazi answered. Wait, hang on a second. Hold on. You're lying to the face of a prophet of God. I mean, the people who hear God's voice and predict the future and tell kings what to do, what's right and what's wrong. Do you really think you're gonna pull a fast one on Elisha? Man, not the most intelligent decision, Gehazi. But Elisha said to him, "Was not my spirit with you when the man got down from his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to take money or accept clothes?" Clearly, Elisha knew what Gehazi had been up to. "Or olive groves and vineyards, or flocks and herds, or male and female slaves? Naaman's leprosy will cling to you and to your descendants forever." Then Gehazi went from Elisha's presence, and his skin was leprous. It had become as white as snow. Man, Gehazi, it wasn't right for you to go out and get those things and lie about it to Naaman, but then to hide it again when you got back. And then Elisha confronts you and says, "Hey, where have you been?" And then you lied to his face. Man, Gehazi went and tried to pick up some clothes and some silver, but it turns out he picked up something else instead. Naaman's skin disease, the leprosy. I wonder, would things have been different for Gehazi if, even after all the mistakes that he made, if he had come clean to Elisha and said, I'm sorry, master, I made a mistake. I went and got these things from Naaman and I lied about it. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. Maybe he and all of his descendants forever wouldn't have had to deal with leprosy. Not something we'll ever know, but it's definitely something worth thinking about. What kind of consequences happen whenever we not just make a mistake, but we try to cover it up? We lie about it. We don't live a life of integrity. Now, if we ever lie or try to cover something up, we're probably not going to get a skin disease as a result of it. But the lesson is still there. It's just so much easier if we're truthful from the start. And that's the example that we see in Scripture. That's the example of Jesus. He was honest and had integrity in everything that he did. And if you call yourself a Christian, someone who follows Jesus Christ, then we want to live lives of integrity as well. So the next time you do something you shouldn't, the next time you think, oh, you know what, I'm probably not going to get caught, stop and think, but what if I do? You know what? Those consequences aren't worth it. I should probably just come clean and confess in the first place. Let's be people of integrity. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. I'm so excited to have gotten to share this lesson with you. I pray it was helpful, and I look forward to seeing y'all soon.